fact, the only argument we have heard put forward by the Home Secretary in her letter for not confirming their position now is that it would weaken our hand in the negotiations on EU citizens in Europe. My Lords, whichever way you dress up that argument, whichever way you think about that argument, it is using the rights of EU citizens as a bargaining chip.
While Ms May said she is confident that the Commons will reject this amendment on March 13th to 14th, I think there's no basis for that. Stan Bakov, Trading View. Stan, the House of Lords defied the UK Prime Minister Theresa May by voting 358 to 256, a majority of 102, to insert a clause in the Article 50 bill to ensure EU citizens will have the same full rights to live and work in the UK after Brexit. Despite this defeat, Ms May has insisted her timetable for triggering Brexit will not be blown off course. Do you think this clause will remain in the bill?
I think it will remain, at least for now. So as we know, Article 50 sets out the process for UK to leave the EU and states that any member state may decide to withdraw from the Union in accordance with its own constitutional requirements. Once it's triggered, the treaties that bound Britain to EU cease to apply, and the terms of leaving will then begin to be negotiated. I think that the Commons will leave this amendment alone for now, and since they'll have the ability to negotiate it later on if they wish. So while Mrs. May said she's confident that the Commons will reject this amendment on March 13th, 14th, I think there's virtually no basis for that. Given the potential nightmare and disruption to business if, the rights of foreign workers have to be re-looked at this instant, I think it's something they may leave for the future.
And this week, the US Federal Reserve officials jolted the markets into higher expectations for a hike in interest rates this month. Do you think March will deliver a rate hike from the Fed?
You're totally right. The odds have jumped significantly from 30 to 80% on this, and it does seem likely that they will deliver a rate hike. There's a few reasons for it. So, as Fed Chair Janet Yellen will likely send the message today, 1 p.m. Eastern. So there could be a debt ceiling fight in the fall. So right about when the Fed votes on the rate hike, the legislated extension of the debt ceiling expires, putting Congress on notice that it needs to, get another deal together to avoid the default, the typical story that they've got going on. The government would run out of money sometime in the fall, and that's when the budget battling could really heat up. Another reason is that the Fed may be worried it's going to overshoot on full employment and inflation, which would mean that the Fed is behind the curve and something that constantly bothers the markets. And of course, if they do hike it, the hike will increase expectations that the Fed will do quarterly rate hikes, but we'll see what happens. So I think more yes than no, given the entire case for it, but of course we'll see.
And Stan, Marine Le Pen was stripped of her European Parliament immunity from prosecution because of a judicial investigation in France into the posting on her Twitter account of images of murders by Islamic State. Do you see this harming her chances of being the next president of France?
This is a very interesting question. She is a very interesting persona. I think, if anything, it increases her chances. The French have a long history of being successful and defiant at the same time. And there is a subjective feeling that the masses in France have been wanting a strong, opinionated, even if marginalizing president to help shape France's place in the world today. Following in Trump's footsteps, the more that is thrown at Marine Le Pen, it actually strengthens her image as defying all odds and being strong. She has been stripped of her immunity. She has defied a parliament demand to refund 300,000 euros. And a new survey shows that the previous frontrunner, Francois Fillon, could be routed in the first election round. So, it's a very interesting dynamic.
Stan, thank you for joining us today. Those were some of the key events and potential long-term impacts to take place this week. We'll be back on Monday to give you a heads up of what to watch out for in the coming week, so be sure to click back.